AKAPADers, welcome to episode 482 of AKAPAD's Audio Audacity podcast. And if you're new here, this is where we just talk movies, and we're approaching 500 episodes of movie-loving lore. And we're smack in the middle of the Wolfgang Petersen obsessive run. I say obsessive because I got obsessed with this guy's entire filmography post his death. I seem to be the only reviewer that cares about this guy, that cares about his contribution to mainstream, I say mainstream, top tier tentpole filmmaking. That's Wolfgang Petersen. This guy worked with the best of the best throughout his entire career. He's made movies low, he's made movies high, meaning budgets. He's had successes, he's had failures, he's even had Oscar runs. There's nothing this guy hasn't done, and his filmography, too, is slim and selective. It's not this giant scroll of, someone that was just in the game for way too long. Steven Spielberg, I'm looking at you. So we have Troy here, and this is a movie, 2004. Now, this is his second to last movie. His next big studio movie after this would be Poseidon. His previous movie, the 2000 George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, amazing cast too, like the extended cast for this movie, The Perfect Storm. We have something different happening here, and we have a little bit of this like blowback from Lord of the Rings. The imagery of Lord of the Rings, not the fantasy part, but just the imagery of the swords and the battles and the armor. We have Troy. Troy is an answer to this. We also, Oliver Stone, around this time, made Alexander the Great. And then we also have Ridley Scott in Kingdom of Heaven. Now, Kingdom of Heaven, Ridley Scott, is what I consider to be the greatest, like, historically, accurate movie ever. Like, there's nothing that comes close to Kingdom of Heaven. And when I say historically accurate, I don't mean like I researched every single frame of that movie, but dang well near it. But we have Troy, and Troy falls very close to me. It's a movie I even to this day, even as I'm talking to you, I know this movie so well. Because I watch it a lot. I love the first two acts. And the third act is when we get the Trojan horse. And that is the beginning of our final, the resolution to our conflicts. And none of that quite hits home. This movie, you can really say is the greatest version of Troy. Like of the saga of Troy, we'll call it. The Trojan horse, Hela, all of it. A lot of these movies that depict this era just, they're either dated, they fall flat, or they just don't have the technology. This movie had it all. And another one, I guess we're going through what parts that I don't like. Because I really feel like the choreography, the design, the music, Brad Pitt is amazing in this. Eric Bana is awesome. I mean, the movie is stacked. Orlando Bloom, Brian Cox is so freaking awesome in this as the Agamemnon. I love those Greek names. But yeah, Troy, I remember seeing this in the theater. I saw it with one of my girlfriends at the time. I was so taken aback by it. I hit Barnes & Noble on the way back and bought Homer the Odyssey and this big book on Greek mythology, which I already had Bullfinch's mythology, but I wanted more of a glossary or like a dictionary. I still have these books to this day. They're still marked up and sharpied up. That's how taken aback I was at the depiction for this movie. I just wanted I wanted more of it. I wanted to experience more of it. But I do feel like when we get into the third act of this movie, it does fall apart, and we don't get this idea of time and space, because the assault of Troy was 10 years. It was 10 years long. And we saw something similar in the Hulu series, the Dropout that just came out, where that company, Theranos, was in business for 11, 12 years. And we don't get like the scope of that during the run of the TV show or miniseries. And it does take you out of it knowing that fact. Like that fact really needs to be hit home. Now, when it comes to a storytelling device or an avenue to unfold information, it may not be required. That's almost like a sit down conversation you have with your producer, your writer, and your director, where like you have to have a philosophical approach to if you're going to ignore the span of time. And with all of this, with what I really feel like is a rushed, breezy third act, a third act with resolutions that really don't pay off or hit home. Everything into this movie, though, the build into it is so freaking fun. It's just like Hollywood spectacle type stuff. The fight of Brad Pitt and Eric Bana, where Achilles, played by Brad Pitt too, awesome body in this movie. Like it's almost like Brad Pitt bulking up for this movie versus Will Smith bulking up for I Am Legend. But Achilles versus Paris, Achilles kills Paris. This is one of the best choreographed scenes that we have today. This is a top 10 choreographed fight scene. The depiction of the Greeks and the way of life, just getting an idea of what it may have looked like. There's no film that even comes close. But then we get the Trojan horse, like everything, and like I'm wavering back and forth here with a little bit of my analysis and commentary, because the third act it bothers me so much. It bothers me that this movie doesn't have like more time to really milk the Trojan horse, to really maybe even put like a little bit of a spin on it, because they did put a spin on, and this is similar in Alexander, the God part, like the way how the belief like is there and it's not, meaning like there are the Greek gods, but they're maybe not. Maybe they're just like realistic versions of them. This movie walks a very fine line in that. And because of that, it is interesting. It's almost like a too realistic depiction of this time to kind of illustrate where some of these legends may have come from. And that's really what the contention of the movie is. Because throughout the course of the movie, we do want more, like maybe Orlando Bloom with Hela. Like we want a little bit more of this like found love story. But we do also want a lot more war. Like, when you watch a movie, even like Braveheart, you just want more battles. Like, it's like all go, like just show us more battles. And, that's something too, that Braveheart, Gladiator, Lord of the Rings, like kind of toggles back and forth on. I do believe the information dump and the balance that exists within Lord of the Rings, it's so freaking unique. And it's been it's so many people try to duplicate it, and they just can't do it. But the point of this movie is that Achilles represents this warrior, and warriors live on forever. And with all the other circumstances around this, all the little rivalries, and then the fleet that ascends on Troy, this is what they do. This is like why they live. They will live forever because of this. And within the context of the story, them living forever is within like the intention, the motivation. It's stated, it's said, it's like it's right there, which does make this movie unique when one compared to other Greek war, even like 300 type stuff. But this is really more or less a story of Achilles, Brad Pitt. And the funny thing is, one of my ex girlfriends, like she liked this movie. I don't know if she loved it, but because I would even watch it like on DVD. And she made the observation that the movie probably wasn't as successful as it should have been, because most people thought Brad Pitt's name was Troy, based on the movie posters and like even the box art, because they were disappointed when his name's not Troy in the movie Troy. I think some of that is there. Like when we make movies like this, a lot of times we ignore the marketing, we ignore the positioning of the sale. And these historical movies are tough. I mean, we just saw this with another Ridley Scott movie, The Last Duel. Like sometimes it's a hard sell. The historical stuff is hard to pass through people. And this is a little bit of the mystery of marketing. You can pour a lot of money into a message and, even have the message perfect, like have it positioned perfectly, and it still doesn't quite capture people. It doesn't quite like carry on. Like Troy, definitely a little bit of that, but I don't know. I mean, this movie, I love it. I love the beginning. I love even the opening with the dog and the corpses, the opening fight, all of it. I love it all. I love the angst of Achilles. The angst in this movie is fantastic. He, like the inner battles within both armies. Like I said, this toggling back and forth. No one's really agreeing, but they're doing things. It's really cool, really well done. Like I said, well acted, well portrayed. But what kills me is that this movie does stumble towards the end, and we kind of get a payoff that's within the spectacle of the movie. I mean, like the sacking of Troy is just fantastic, though. You see them like throwing babies over cliffs, and they're just stabbing wives and killing women, and it just doesn't even matter. Like they're just barbarians, which is really what happened back in the day. They went for the gold, they killed everyone, and whoever was left over became a slave, and they kept the women for what reason. Yeah. But Troy is still a full recommendation. It's a recommendation on the how well Wolfgang Petersen controlled this mechanism, this storm, this corporation to make this movie. It's the greatest Greek movie ever made. The music is fantastic. The music is of the time. The music feels like it's there. James Horner, right? James Horner, genius. Let's go. But no, and I still watch this movie all the time. I mean, I don't have to watch it all the way through. Now, there's two separate versions. There's a director's cut there. And, like a lot of these, there's, like I was just watching The Heat, the definitive director's cut for that. The Miami Vice one. I mean, like so many of these movies have director cuts now. I always go for director's cut. I really do. I just, even if I saw something in the theater and I remember it very well, I lean towards director's cut all the time. Kingdom of Heaven is a fantastic example to why we need director cuts. But yeah, this movie is motivational. It's inspirational. It's all of those institutionals. But yeah, I mean, I'll put this movie on sometimes before I work out, just because I love the blood that's pumping, like within Achilles. It's so fantastic. It's a full recommendation. Wolfgang Petersen has directed one of the bigger and the best giant Oscar bait spectacle movies of a time that is now fading. Like this movies made like this with a cast like this are fading. Like they're not really going to make movies like this much anymore, especially with Netflix just crashing when it comes to dollar cash on hand type stuff. But yeah, so full recommendation. I love Troy, always did. I'm on the fence when I talk about it. I see, this is why we do this podcast, though, because I just feel like I need to watch Troy again a few more times and talk to you about it again. So maybe we'll do that. So next up is The Perfect Storm. So we're going now back 4 years. Perfect Storm, and Perfect Storm was my designed end for the Wolfgang Petersen run. Unfortunately, I just about watched Poseidon, and I just watched Enemy Mine. 19 and Enemy Mine deserves so much more conversation than Poseidon. Just on like a surface level type thing, like just surface wise. So I do want to talk to you about Enemy Mine. And, like now I'm thinking, if I did Poseidon, should I just sit down and go through Das Boot with all of you? But Troy, go check out Troy, get the director's cut. It's awesome. I love it. If you got yourself a little bit of time, I don't know, leave a review, leave 5-star, 4-star, 1-star, give me a thumbs up or subscribe support. Hit AKAPAD.com if you want a free Wolfpack trading card. Man, like I the Shattered episode, did I even tell you guys the Shattered episode, last episode, I recorded that 3 times. 3 times just to get my head straight in what that diatribe would be. I kind of want to redo this episode, but we won't though. Let's dump it. Let's put it out there. I love you. Goodbye.